Freddy vs. Jason. This is a movie I've been wanting to review on my channel for a long time now because I am a Freddy fan. I'm a Freddy fanatic. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, minus a lot of the sequels I think are very iffy. I think it's a perfect franchise up until three, and then from there, the franchise starts to go downhill with 4, 5, and 6. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare being the absolute worst. But it's still, it's still a enjoyable. It's still an enjoyable franchise, and even in the bad movies, what is it? Robert Englund, he gives the movie some entertainment value. He gives the movie some layers of enjoyment because he's like Robert Englund. At this point in time, he has played like Freddy like a numerous amount of times, like countless times now. He's voiced the character countless times in like TV shows and in games, and he's played the character in multiple movies now. So Robert Englund, he is Freddy, and even in the sequels, he still holds his role as Freddy like pretty good. He does go into more comedic territories, which I don't like, but anyways, we are not here to talk about the Nightmare franchise. Like I could talk days on end about my love for Freddy and all that, and about my love for Wes Craven and what he did with that first movie, which I think is genius. But we are here to talk about the showdown between Freddy and Jason, which this movie happened in 2003. So, might I add, I was not born at the time when this movie came out. So I didn't see all the marketing campaign, which I've heard from people. The marketing campaign was like the greatest thing ever, like the teaser trailer, which just had a couple of shots from the movie and a couple of shots of like Freddy and Jason actually fighting. For the most part, it was just all like words for the first 20 seconds, and there was like a website launched, and then there was like a teaser trailer, a theatrical trailer, and there were all these goodies, and there were like little commercials in magazines, like interviews with the director and shit, and all of that good stuff we love as horror fans, and it looked like one of the greatest marketing campaigns for a horror movie. So this was a movie that has like so much going for it, like having Robert Englund back as Freddy Krueger. We do have a different actor playing Jason this time around. We don't have Kane Hodder, who played Jason in Jason Goes to Hell, Jason Takes Manhattan, and Jason X. We don't have him back in here, but Robert Englund, which he's one of my big positives. But let's just jump right into this movie. So this movie had a hard time. Getting made because there were multiple different like script ideas from the company and how they were actually going to bring Freddy and Jason together in the one movie. And this movie is only 93 minutes long, so it's not really that long. And they managed to do a lot in that runtime, and every single minute in this runtime feels very well utilized, feels very well earned. But yeah, before I get into my positives and negatives with this movie, I want to talk about some of the original script ideas, because I recently did a You Watch It With Me with Adam Marty McFly 88 on YouTube, and we talked about like the whole nightmare law, and we talked about the Friday law. We talked about like all these different things in our video. And we brought up some of the ideas, and so one was going to be having this Freddy fanatic cult come back, and then that's how Freddy came back into the game called Fredheads. And then there was another idea where Freddy had sex with Pamela Voorhees, and so there was like this twist that Freddy is Jason's mother. And like those ideas I don't really like. Like the cult I think has potential, but it just doesn't feel like a slasher movie. Then it's just I the way I envision it in my head. Maybe it would have been better like on screen, but at the same time, I feel like the way they handled the story in this, the way they paced it out, the way they executed it all, perfect, absolutely perfect. So yeah, they're just some of the original script ideas that have been leaked. So yeah, this is a movie that can be really hard to bring together because you have two different horror movie franchises here, and there's a lot of weight on the director's shoulders because you don't want to, I guess, piss off any fans here. So you have to give Freddy fans what they want. You have to give Jason fans what they want. So this is a hard move to make, and especially kind of bring them into the same universe, here. So yeah, that's just I guess a bit of a backstory on on some of the original script ideas and storyboard ideas for this movie. So anyways, let's get to my thoughts on Freddy vs. Jason. So this, as I said, this is a really kick-ass movie, and my first positive with this movie is Robert Englund. Since front and center of this movie, this is very much a Freddy. This is very much a Freddy movie. It's him kind of coming back into play and having Jason, I guess, go into Elm Street and kind of, I guess, bring back that fear because there's this great narration that Freddy gives, which sets up his motivation, what he's trying to achieve for basically the rest of the movie until he does come back into play. And in his narration, he's basically saying how like the Elm Street kids have forgotten him, and it's showing scenes from like the sequels, and so his motivation is set up in like the first minute of this movie, so perfect. So we already know Freddy's motivation at what his goal is, and then we get to our opening scene, which takes place at Camp Crystal Lake, and then we see like a character. We see her running through the forest. Running through the forest with her tits out, as you would in a Friday the 13th movie, and Jason's running after her. And then you see Pamela Voorhees, which turns out to be Freddy Krueger. And as in the Friday lore, Jason always listens to Mother. And so I guess Freddy being Pamela Voorhees, he kind of Jason listens to his mother and does as he is told. And so he goes to Elm Street to wake up them, and then that's how Freddy comes into play later on in the movie, which that is a great opening scene because that is classic Friday the 13th front and foremost. Okay, so so you're talking more about Freddy Krueger. So the first time you actually see him, I guess, come back is Freddy. He has one kill in this entire movie. There is one drop of blood given by Freddy in this movie, and for the most part, like Jason has all the fun slaughtering teens in this movie. While I'm not as bothered with the idea that Freddy only has one kill in this movie, because it does make sense, because Freddy's whole story in this movie is to come back and to wake up Elm Street again. So it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, I would have liked maybe more than one kill, like maybe like 3 or 4 would have been fine, but one, seriously, it's I don't I don't get why there's one kill, but at the same time I'm going to pass it because for the most part Freddy, he has been forgotten in this movie and he's trying to bring that fear back to the Elm Street kids. So also on one side of my brain it does make sense, but on the other I wish there could have been more blood and gore and kills from Freddy in this movie. Okay, and now just separating Freddy, let's talk about Robert Englund. He like it's like you just expect this now when you watch a nightmare movie. Like it's Robert England is always going to be the best part of any of any Friday of any nightmare movie. Sorry, wrong franchise of any nightmare movie. He is in, even in the bad ones. He is like really, he's really good in them, and he is excellent in this. Like performance wise, he is fantastic, and the makeup as well. Like props to the makeup artist on this movie because they did an amazing job. This is the best Freddy has looked since Dream Warriors, in my opinion. Because in some of the later sequels in the Nightmare franchise, like his makeup just looked a bit iffy. It didn't look really all that good, and it just looks like the makeup artist was just putting in a half-assed job with his makeup. Robert England here, once again, he surpasses any expectations you had going into this movie because he is really good. There's a great balance in this movie between scary Freddy and comedic Freddy because Freddy, he does throw you some great one-liners in this movie which I really like, and it reminded me so much of that classic Freddy, of the classic scary Freddy that still had like that personality to him, and like that's something I feel like this movie it absolutely nails in the head. It gets it in one hole easily, and yeah, Robert England, he is excellent as Freddy. Okay, so now moving on to my next positive, which is the blood and gore in this movie. From start to finish, this movie is filled with blood and gore and guts, like all over the screen, with all over the screen galore. This and there were some fantastic kills in this movie. There's the first kill Jason does where he pulls up the bed. Oh, so good. And then there's the barn scene where he's basically just slaughtering teens left and right, and that is one of the greatest scenes in this movie. Um, and this movie does not stop with the kills until the very last frame of the movie. This is a very bloody, this is a very violent movie, and it really utilizes Jason's strength as well. And you see Freddy and Jason, you see I guess you see their powers or their strength shine through in this movie because it is utilized really well in this movie, and there's lots of creative kills in this movie. I love the fold up bed one. That is probably my favorite in this movie. It's the most unique. Like first he gets stabbed and then fold up bed, just so good. And then there's the barn scene, and then there's the scene when the guy's holding the like those formulas to poke into Jason to make him fall asleep, and he gets sliced in half, and yeah, blood and gore all over the wall. Like yeah, there's so much goodness to enjoy, and it takes you back to that classic Nightmare Friday environment and what those movies I guess gave you. And just like it takes you back, but in a way also it also enhances in here because like I said, there's a lot of blood and gore in this movie. And now Jason, he's technically Freddy's puppet in this movie because Freddy's the one, I guess, telling Jason what to do in order for Freddy to come back to life, to bring back that fear. But yeah, Jason, I feel like he does do a really good job in this movie. He has some of the highlight scenes as I just mentioned. But yeah, Jason, I feel like he's really good. You see, some of the best scenes are with Jason in this movie. And as far as the actor who portrays Jason in this movie, I know that's a very divided fan base opinion. There are not many people like him. A lot of people say Kane Hodder, and I will say Kane Hodder is definitely the better Jason. I actually enjoyed this. Rather enjoyed this actor's interpretation of Jason because he's very slow moving zombie Jason, and it's yeah, like I don't really get what all the hate is about because I thought he did a really good job um, like playing the character of Jason. But I still think Kane Hodder is because the thing about Kane Hodder is he gave he gave personality to his stance and to his movement. And just like these simple little details on Kane Hodder's Jason, it is perfection. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, I'm talking about Freddy vs. Jason, and I am not mentioning the final maybe 25 to 30 minutes of this movie. This is why you're here. This is why you're watching a movie called Freddy vs. Jason. You want to see, the final showdown. You want to get your money's worth. You want to see Freddy versus Jason, and the last 25 to 30 minutes of this movie, it certainly delivers. Blood and gore everywhere, cutting off limbs, just Freddy and Jason just having a go each other. It's so much fun. Like the third act is their playground, and it's so much fun to see, like to see Jason like wreck Freddy and to see Freddy wreck Jason, and it makes for a bloody good time. The third act in this is a bloodbath till the very last frame, and they do equal amounts of damage to each other. And why this third act is so good is the build up to the movie to actually bring Freddy back in play, using using Jason as Freddy's puppet. It was the perfect story to bring these two together. And they do have I guess minor fights beforehand, but the one in the third act is the one like that. The one in the I guess in the house when it's burning. Like Freddy goes to kick Jason in the balls, and then that backfires on him. Fantastic stuff. But then he just gets like smashed into all those windows. Like fantastic stuff there. Like that is what you want. And then the big fight doesn't take place to I guess outside. And the third act fight was when because I was talking to Adam who I did the You Watch with me, and we were talking about like how you can't have a versus movie without explaining how these two characters meet. And especially since Freddy's franchise, it's been years since that's been resurrected. So this movie, I guess, it resurrects like the Nightmare franchise. It resurrects the Friday franchise in a really nice way. And there's little throwbacks and references to past Nightmare movies. Like you see the hospital from Nightmare 3 in here. And there's more of a history. There's more of an expanded lore there, and I really like that. You see a goat in one of the dreams, which is throwback to the opening scene of the first one when the character is running through like the boiler room, and she sees a goat in front of her. Like fantastic, just like those little like attention to details is what makes this movie like fantastic, is what makes this movie stand out so much. But the third act is fantastic. So now, I did have a little conversation with Adam about exactly who won. And we came to the conclusion that Jason won because he's the first one that you see pop out of water. He's the one who has all of his limbs attached to him. Even though Freddy does wink at the end, basically hinting that and then you hear his evil laugh, basically hinting that he is not dead. He's he is still dead. He's in the real world, and he got his whole body cut off. Like I can't see you can't come back from that, especially in the real world. You can't come back from that, and so Jason is the ultimate winner in this. He is the one who he is the overall winner. Like there's really. If you're looking at this, I guess realistically, like there really is no real winner because Jason lived, Freddy Freddy lives as well. So there's really no, I guess, official winner. But if we're talking just movie wise, I would say, yeah, Jason is the overall winner of this death match. And another massive positive of Freddy vs. Jason. As a metal fan, as a metalhead, I've got to mention the score in this movie because this is a great heavy metal soundtrack that like it fits so well. It gives the movie just like so much more like energy and just it enhances it enhances the fun of it. Like you have a fun movie with a fun soundtrack. It combines so well. If you are into heavy metal like myself, you will get a lot of fun listening to this soundtrack. Like as soon as I finished watching this movie for the first time, when I did watch it like many years back, I could not stop listening to the soundtrack on to this movie. I listened to it on repeat for days because the songs, the score in this movie is absolutely on point and just it adds to the fun of this movie. So that is another big positive of Freddy vs. Jason. Yeah, so now moving away from the positives, I want to talk about my mixed elements in this movie because this isn't necessarily a negative to say, but this is certainly something I am very mixed on, to say the least, and that is the characters. These characters in the movie, they are better than average. Like they aren't like fantastic. They aren't like Nancy great in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. They aren't like as strong as her. Um, but I think there are. Our final girl in this movie. I think she is fantastic. I think she has a really compelling character. She does a great job with her performance. But then I guess there's other characters in the first act where I was just like, who is this? And it's just I could not remember the characters' names for shit. Outside of our main final girl, everyone else, who is this character? Like, I did not remember them, and I think these aren't like the worst characters. Like, I've certainly seen slash movies with worse with worse character development in it. Like this movie, it definitely does give characterization to its characters. Some better than others, but like then even for like I guess the characters that do play a big part in the story, even some of them like they don't have like I guess a compelling character in this. Like they have a good narrative, I guess. But then as far as the character goes, there's no I didn't really find myself getting invested in any of them. So I think that's probably my one mixed element is that I think the characters could have been better, but at the same time, like you aren't going to a movie called Freddy vs. Jason and expecting characters. You aren't expecting like a character masterpiece here. So I guess I can kind of pass that because you are there to see Freddy vs. Jason as the title does promise. So, but I mean, I suppose you do need interesting characters along with all of that. So, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna say it's like that's why I'm saying it's not a bad thing, but something I just feel like maybe this movie could have maybe tweaked a bit and just made the characters more likable. But yeah, anyways, that's my only mixed element on this movie. Uh, so going into negatives, I don't really have any big negatives. I think my only negative is having Freddy only have one kill in the movie. I feel like I've already complained about that, but I feel like this is a well-earned negative for this movie. Is that Freddy he only has one kill, and it's like you can't have a movie called Freddy vs. Jason and only give Freddy one kill. Like you can't do that. But at some time, that's like I said, at some time I can pass it. It's passable. So, anyways, yeah, that is my review for Freddy vs. Jason. I was so glad to go back and revisit this movie. This movie is so much fun. So let me know down in the comments, what did you think of Freddy vs. Jason, and also what is your favorite Friday and Nightmare movie? Let me know. Let me know that in the comment section down below. So, anyways, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever you guys are, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.